Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. Leading off for Sirius XM Progress, here is Mark Thompson with Make It Plain.
That was fun talking to the stars of Bobby Christine, especially Vivica Fox, that's big time, you know. Folks, we're live on Facebook, facebook.com/Make It Plain. And also on YouTube, youtube.com/Make It Plain. And again, those of you who are wondering why I am dressed the way I am, this is Thursday, the beginning of the American League Division Series, the Yankees versus Cleveland. You know, Brittany was doing the story about the game Monday, Washington versus Minnesota, and you just heard, huh? What? I'm sorry, I can't say it. What? Now that's double. Watch this. So you heard in the Vivica Fox interview that I used to work for TV One before it was TV One. It was Radio One, and there was a policy there that you could not mention those racist team names on the air, even in news and sports coverage on the radio. So we always had to say Washington football team, Kansas City football team, Cleveland baseball team, anything with an offensive name. So those were two offensive names on the game Monday, Kansas City and Washington. Tonight, the Yankees play Cleveland. You don't say the name because it's offensive. Now, the Washington football team's name is the most offensive of all. But anyway, long story short. That's why we need to vanquish Cleveland. And I'm wearing my Aaron Judge barrister's wig. So you can see us and also listen to us on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, most of all, listen to our guest with the Washington Blade, the Gay and Lesbian Activist Alliance. His latest piece for Trump, A Golf Cart Ride to Hell. Hey, man.
Good morning, Judge Thompson.
Hey, you know what, Rick? What I found out? And Brittany, I didn't even get to tell you this yet. So yesterday, and everybody's, because I wear even when I get off there, I wear my wig around the office. People love it. They love it. Just love the wig. So I'm just out of curiosity. I go online. It's just something I got in the costume store. I go online. I showed it to Andrew to look up how much, because in a lot of countries, they still wear this. In Britain and some of the former colonies, to look up how much the real thing is. Some of them things cost $4,000, Rick Rosendall. I mean, the real horsehair.
And the reason why they were powdered wigs, the powder was to kill the lice and stuff.
Yeah, right.
That's not the pretty side of it.
But I mean, today, if you go online and try to buy a bona fide barrister's wig, if you are practicing in Her Majesty's court, you spend anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000.
See, this is how they get you. Whether it's the most stylish clothes or the appropriate outfit or the regalia or the high heels or whatever, they trap you in all that stuff. Well, there's so much going on. Incidentally, you were talking about the Washington football team and other racist team names.
Right.
Somebody who I believe you have interviewed, Jeffrey Wright, my fellow native Washingtonian, one of my favorite actors, for years was insisting that the Washington football team name was not racist, that some Native Americans had used the term themselves, et cetera, et cetera. He had this whole thing.
Yeah.
And he was giving Kamau Bell a hard time for saying it's a racist name. And but now he has started on his Twitter feed, which is really smart and sharp. Jeffrey has started saying, change the name. So he has been a convert to that. Because I was always, it was the one thing I didn't agree with Jeffrey about. And so anyway,
wait, just to be clear, let me just throw this out there, just another little tease. This coming Monday, is Columbus Day. And
Yeah.
we are going to take that opportunity because it's so close to his birthday to air Dick Gregory's celebration of life. Now, in that celebration of life, Native Americans participated. So we're going to highlight that because it is Columbus Day. In fact, the brother of a regular guest of mine, who's since passed away, he was on my show every Columbus Day, Vernon Belcourt, American Indian Movement. His brother is speaking. You'll hear that. And I think it's appropriate, not only because we're honoring Dick's birthday, but because it's also Columbus Day. So I just wanted to put that, to put the little tidbits out there.
525th anniversary of racist slaughter and oppression.
Yes, sir.
In this hemisphere.
Yes, sir.
So one of the quick stories that I wanted to mention was there was yesterday, 3 American Green Berets were killed in an ambush in Niger. There were some American special forces advisors helping the armed forces of Niger fight the Al-Qaeda folks that were coming over the border from Mali. Anyway, that's why they were there. But so that's a tragedy. But somebody that DeRay McKesson retweeted on Twitter, a guy named Greg O'Lear, wrote, "Please, Lord, let someone teach Trump how to pronounce Niger before he starts talking about it."
Oh, Lord, I didn't even think about that. Oh, my God. Has he hasn't said anything yet, has he?
I don't know. I try to avoid listening to him.
Because he already, what was this country he messed up last week?
Namibia. Namibia, of course. But
yeah, he better not. He better stay away from NIGER. He better, yeah.
Right. And somebody started saying Nambla instead of Nambia. So I said,
oh my God.
We need to stop. It's bad enough.
You know what Nambla is, Brittany? You know what Nambla is? It's that North American
Brando lookalikes.
No, North American Man Boy Love Association.
But on South Park did an Nambla episode because they're totally sick.
I gotta be honest. So hold it, Rick. I gotta be honest with you because it's just funny. A friend, my late father had a friend of his who's also late, a firefighter by the name of Sleepy. Sleepy was known for being ignorant, and everybody would laugh at him. One day there was something in the news about Nigeria, and Sleepy said, "Y'all heard that story about what's going on in Nigeria?" No. And we said, "What?" So I know. I don't even want to hear what Trump's going to say about Niger, but anyway.
I seriously don't. I seriously don't.
Those of you in Washington who are listening to me, remember that. Remember Sleepy. Okay, I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, so I won't say any more about South Park. But so let me see. Let's go through recent news. The U.S. at the United Nations voted against abolishing the anti-gay death penalty, the countries that have the death penalty just for being gay. So the United States voted with 12 other countries. The measure still passed the Human Rights Council. But voting along with the United States to keep the death penalty, in these countries were countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates. Now the excuse they gave was they don't agree with the death penalty for those things, but they want to preserve the death penalty for certain things, and they didn't think the resolution had made the distinction, and that they felt it should have made, because they're against the death penalty altogether.
Right.
So Nikki Haley voted against a resolution that was condemning the death penalty for gay people, among other things.
She voted against a resolution condemning the death penalty for gay people.
Opposing the death penalty because it covered other stuff, and the United States, wants to be able to have the death penalty for certain things. That was their rationale.
Right.
But it doesn't stop there. Department of Justice in court opposed the gay non-discrimination, basically.
Right.
Argued against the current law protecting gay people. That may head to the Supreme Court. Somebody I know, Paul Smith, formerly of the law firm Jenner and Block, who argued the Lawrence v. Texas case that ended the remaining anti-sodomy laws back in 2003, I believe. He argued in court the other day. He argued that the Wisconsin political gerrymandering that keeps the state house in Republican hands, the legislature in Republican hands. He argued against that before the Supreme Court, and Justice Kennedy is the swing justice in this case, and sounded quite sympathetic. By all accounts, Paul's arguments just knocked it out of the park, and at the injustice of this and how it undermines democracy. So we'll probably won't know about that until June, but that could be very, very significant ruling. And then finally, across the Potomac River here in Virginia, where there's a gubernatorial race coming up, Ed Gillespie has been running racist anti-immigrant ads against Ralph Northam in various Virginia markets. And the contention, the logic of these ads is that sanctuary cities, the idea of supporting sanctuary cities, which Northam and Governor McAuliffe support, although there are not at the moment any such cities in Virginia, that would be helpful to the M13 gangs. So basically it's
MS-13.
Undocumented workers equal criminal gangs. And they use one photograph that was taken in a prison in El Salvador. Because people in Dumfries, Virginia are really endangered by people that are incarcerated in El Salvador. And so Ed Gillespie it's another Willie Horton type racist political, well, it's hardly a dog whistle.
Right.
At this point. So
we had Ralph Northam on with us on Monday. And
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. I can tell that he's a decent guy. He's a very decent guy.
So quickly, since we don't have a lot of time, my column is called "For Trump, a Golf Cart Ride to Hell."
You're sending him to hell.
That echoes Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of Hamilton, who has family in Puerto Rico, and reacted with outrage against Trump's trash talking, including against the mayor of San Juan, Carmen Yulín Cruz, because Elaine Duke of Homeland Security had called the federal response to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico a good news story, and Mayor Cruz responded, "This is not a good news story. This is a people are dying story." And Trump, as usual, denigrated her because everything has to be about him. And so Lin-Manuel said, "She has been working 24/7. You have been golfing. You're going straight to hell. Fastest golf cart you ever took." So so if we have a couple minutes, let me read my curse.
Please.
On a crisp, clear autumn midnight.
It may be clear. This is Rick is cursing the president.
Yes. On a crisp, clear autumn midnight, I kneel in a clearing in Rock Creek Park and feel the eyes of nocturnal animals on me as I gaze upward, lift my arms heavenward, and solemnly intone. Under a waxing moon, I hex thee, Donald John Trump. I curse thee with bad lawyers, unflattering headlines, and ungrateful mobs. May thou be locked in a limousine filled with flatulence until thou canst not breathe, and thy cries for help are unheeded. May thy golf balls be replaced by dragon eggs that hatch upon impact and answer thy boasting with fire. May thine incitements fall on deaf ears, and thy lies turn to acid in thy throat. May all the pussies thou hast ever grabbed return as piranhas that clean thee to the bone.
Brittany loves it. That's Rick. That's pretty rough, man.
If Brittany hadn't laughed, I would have considered myself a failure. And but she's sort of a guide, So, but anyway, and now I go on to say other things, but the bottom line is we cannot just curse the guy. We have to organize.
Yeah.
We have to vote. It's a civic obligation. If we don't, look around you. Well, they said about a great British architect, if you seek his monument, look around you, and it's St. Paul's Cathedral.
Yeah.
Christopher Wren. Well, if you want to see the monument to people not bothering to vote, look around you. Wreckage and destruction against our republic in every direction. I'm also been reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' new book, which came out on the 3rd, and it's beautifully written. It's a collection of essays called "We Were 8 Years in Power," and that title was taken from a figure from South Carolina from the Reconstruction era, who was testifying before the South Carolina State Constitutional Convention, which was erasing all of that and pretending that the blacks that had been in power after the Civil War were all incompetent and horrible and did horrible things. In fact, they had done all sorts of extraordinary things. The white supremacists were upset because they were good, not because they were backward or bad. They were upset because their actions had refuted the white supremacist doctrine, and so he's drawing a parallel between what happened, the backlash against black advancement during Reconstruction, and what is now happening under Trump. And he's just very powerful, and I recommend it. I was sitting under the moon reading it on my iPad on Kindle, and we need these voices.
You read your iPad while you're under the moon hexing Donald Trump?
No, on my roof. I wasn't in Rock Creek Park last night. I was sitting on my roof, and it's a full moon, and illuminating the whole landscape. But I can sit and read in the dark because I have Kindle, my ebook. So,
yes.
But
Sir.
anyway,
yeah.
So there's so much going on and so much resisting still to do and organizing to do. But it's very important that that we get woke, because we have not just Roy Moore in Alabama. We have this guy, Chris, I forget his name, who's running, a crazy guy that's running for Senate in Mississippi. There's possibly a whole crop of people that have been sort of awakened or come out from under their rocks by Trumpism. And we're going to have to beat this back.
Well, hold on. Just quick calls, folks. Not a lot of time. If you let me just say this real quick, Rick. If you want to get on with Rick, 866-99-SIRIUS, 866-997-4748. If you're watching us on Facebook.com/MakeItPlain or YouTube.com/MakeItPlain, you will see on the screen behind me Trump taking jump shots with paper towels.
Oh, it's so disgraceful. As if we were throwing peanuts to animals at the zoo. And the House of Representatives used the distraction of Las Vegas to pass some horrible bill that my mind just went blank. I mean, they did.
I forgot what that was. Yeah.
A really horrible bill that hopefully won't pass. Oh, it was the 20-week bill.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Yeah, Brittany reported on that yesterday.
So they're just not stopping, and they're not.
And again, life to them only exists and is only worthy within the womb.
Oh, and Steve Scalise is going to speak, who's now recovering from being shot a few months ago. He's going to speak, it's been announced, at the Values Voter Summit, a very right-wing anti-gay gathering every year that happens in Washington.
Yeah.
And his life was saved by two Capitol Police officers, one of whom, Crystal Griner, is a black lesbian. And
in a same-sex marriage too, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us were hoping he would have, an epiphany, that he would realize that he was demonizing human beings, and would stop and learn something, would have a teachable moment. No, he's going right on with the far right politics of intolerance, and that is sad. And that's a reminder: we can't afford to get sentimental about this stuff.
No,
we're dealing with evil, with relentless, determined evil, and this is what Ta-Nehisi's book is about: is the endurance of white supremacy as part of the DNA of this country. And if we're going to change it, it's not going to be without a fight.
Rick Rosendall, folks, the video's up too. You can, if you miss it, you can watch Rick a little later, or hear him at least. Thank you, buddy. Washington Blade for Trump, a golf cart ride to hell. Folks, we'll be right back. Sirius XM Progress 127. Get ready for impeachment. This is Resistance Radio, and this is MIP.